right. So this poem is titled On the Eve of the 50th Anniversary of Our Diaspora. There is an earbone unique to whales and dolphins, an old song singing longing for every night to be the plenilune, so we may meet again, crossing the Atlas comet which becomes visible once every 160,000 years. I dream of orange tree flowers in the middle of winter, the garden grove where my grandfather and his king disappeared, seeds that sleep for years in the desert and bloom when rain falls once in a blue moon, or peace burgeons. Last night, the stars from Gemini held hands beside Mars, behind the weight of a sky blowing frozen crystal kisses, all ready to fight in the hazy light with a chance of flurries. With them, I fly at the speed of wind, wet with rapid, unscheduled disassembly. After calm loss breaking apart in streaks of debris, over the ocean where they assume that there is no life, dismissing the islands, the whales, the schools of fish, or even the plankton, nutrient particles floating on salted water. Another poet said he wants to love like spring does to cherry blossoms. I want to love Tamuli until the end of time, like a bicycle gliding among the snowflakes in the fluttering light, swooping in the sweet breeze of 1,000 snowflakes, crashing in the cool dewiness of lips touching my naked face. Flowers that become transparent when touched by water, the embrace of my forefathers waving from the ancestral Xianghuang hills. Yoku Meme, remember me just a little. This poem is called Do You Speak Hmong? And it's after Do You Speak Persian by Kaveh Akbar. They say we might come from as far as Siberia, southernly migrating as far as Southeast Asia, over millennia, a tribe suddenly surging to splendid ascendance in the kingdom of 1,000,000 elephants, in fireworks of war. Spades switched to firearms, we switched to rock-hard border defenders, tiger-smooth guerrilla fighters, and death-defying lords of the sky. Only when blown across oceans far from Asian shores did our language start to scatter in a flight of black and blue swallowtail butterflies, swarming away in the dying rays of an eastern sun. Western-born, I never learned how to strum the tones of my grandmother's tongue, to say sorry, or I will try harder, or I will always love you. I remember only, Kuchipao Hailu Hmong, I don't know how to speak Hmong, and my heart aches. Kumoshia, my liver hurts. Do you remember me? Kuchipao Hailu Hmong, why don't you speak Hmong? Kumoshia. For so long I was proud of my Western tongue, top of my class, winning in the language of a land where my parents were shipwrecked after their beloved country was sunk. To succeed, je connais, tu connais, il, elle, on connaît. I know, you know, he, she, it knows. My native tongue laughed to a sleepy rooster in the back of my face. Right now, my moon looks like a wrinkled squash flower. Kuchipao Hailu Hmong, I am forever lost in the night. Kumoshia. Lords of the sky. Commanding fire and lightning, raining on enemies, turning the tide, raising a wall of fire breaking the enemy's Ho Chi Minh trails. stealthily slithering along their borders. They glide with the wrath and grace of mythical flying, water serpent gods, nagas, the battle melodies of winged fairies, canaries with angel faces and razor-sharp claws, the evil chasing chants of shamans, riding spirit horses in the heart of darkness, all the last protectors of the land taking last stands against godless foes violating the sanctity of home. Her Tao of D.C. In another life, she used to be a nail that stuck out, someone who spoke words of justice in a sea of silence. In this city, her spine tingled, dazzled by flying crows, king pigeons, and fireflies. And here she has spent years defying gravity and exploring her spine. Still, like a mountain, just a line shooting up from the firmness of her ground to reach for the sky. Quiet, like a log floating on air, from the tailbone to the top of the head. Open, like a puppy, from the blooming of the chest to the vaulting of the rib cage, which remains a stumbling block, being a warrior no longer sure how to hold her sword. In a sequence, she balances like a boat before finding the geometry of a crab, moving on to the shape of a turtle, flipping on its shell to circle around the cosmos, squishing back into the warmth of its cavern, seeking ease under the weight of the world. To progress, to bouncing back in an arc holding everything together. They tell her she should find Archer, so it's time to read the Tao of Pooh, an attempt to find east through the west and vice versa, in a bear crawl towards honey. At first, she buckles at this look to Asia through the Western gaze. But Western-born, there is still truth in this useful lens to clearly see her Asian roots across diaspora and the Western clouds of her childhood. Holding on to books and bows, word by word, inch by inch, every DC morning, on yellow foam, she flexes her Tao, the Tao of her Asian American dreams. Right. The two last poems are a little bit longer, and each of them, I guess, addresses one of my grandfathers. The English is not good enough. For 50 years, my grandfather's letters sat in silence, folded among the yellowing clothes, tucked in battered suitcases, the ravaged baggage of his heartbroken children, too traumatized to remember from beyond the grave both his and their country's forcibly interrupted lives. For a half-decade, my father toiled to translate his father's letters, love, wisdom, worries, hopes, joys and pains, shared with his beloved children sent to a faraway land, in pursuit of the sciences and the letters that could engineer and codify a future for their newborn Kingdom of Laos. Over and over, my father translates, and his children edit, and his siblings are concerned. The English is not good enough. Maybe the crystalline French of my father's happier youth cannot find foot amidst the muddiness of his English as a second language. Those treacherous slips strangle refugees by the tip of their tongues. Maybe the 50-year gap is too great, 2 generations between the war and the current Hmong American reality. Maybe from the safety of our country of salvation, his father's brilliant alliances on chariots of freedom and democracy glitter too sharply with tangled chains of greater powers' political games. My father is not interested in perfect English or polished literary gems. He just wants to tell his story in his own words. The family's fear of ridicule assumes he must be stubborn or senile. Diving for the 100th time in the nebula of my father's word choices, the English breaks like our history. His father's untimely end at the hands of ruthless political foes and his birth country's bloodily aborted future. There is just no way to polish the unbearable wound that both were slaughtered, both were betrayed. We the Hmong people, in honor of General Vang Pao's 80th birthday. This is your story, this is our story. In the beginning, you were just a boy, a seed rolling softly over land that was home and yet did not know that you were her son, while we were a hill tribe, floating among the clouds, wisps of unspoken wishes, looking for a home, skirting the edges of what would become our country. Hovering between heaven and earth, holding the mountains, between east and west, we were the path to freedom, so they all came to us. First, the kingdom of a million elephants, a new nation promising we would be one people. You became their faithful son, their brave soldier, their watchful sentry, while we descended from the clouds and rained ruby-red jewels from our veins, water for the ground to birth our country. Those were the happiest of times. You grew strong in the royal army, while we learned the rights of being citizens in a democracy, the pride of gaining a Hmong voice at the National Assembly, the honor of a place on the King's Council, Panya to be. We could make laws and shape our country. Our children sat in classrooms, polished as gems, effervescing into heliographs of our bright futures. Then came the glorious of times. Against communism, you emerged as a formidable general, while we learned guns, tanks, and planes. Deployed as our country's defense shield, we were pure steel, undefeated. Given impossible missions, we worked like angels, set against evil. We performed miracles, evading enemy lines, bearing the bread of life, or delivering fallen pilots. We fought so hard, stars wept from the sky, while our enemies cursed our names. In the end, we saw the darkest of times, hunted by enemies, enraged by our unbreakable courage. We drowned in the river leading to a safe shore. We languished in refugee camps. But once again, you safeguarded us, always our good father, reminding our American friends to welcome us home. Like brothers, faithfully we entered our new country and joined the great American family. Sometimes we carry the heavy weight of our dead left behind, the burn of our old wounds, the nightmare of never-ending battles. Sometimes we are too busy, and it is not easy building new lives in this new country. But you come and remind us we are Hmong people, sturdy as mountains, and we are Americans, resilient like liberty. So we know peace and its worth. Our children dancing in the light, free. Thank you. Thank you for being here for this reading. Now we will have a presentation on Laos America. But I don't know if we should take a break because it's been, it's been like about 2 hours, I think.
It's a lot. Why don't we let people just kind of stretch up